All right, everyone. We've got some New Orleans voodoo-related news, I suppose. A bunch of inmates managed to escape the Orleans Parish prison, actually. 11 of them, or 10. Um, it's not entirely clear because I'm seeing both reported on. 3 of them have been captured. 7 are still at large, so I think 10 is the actual number. Originally, it was reported 11. I'm not exactly sure why the confusion, but whatever. Apparently, a hole was made behind a toilet in one of the cells, and so the inmates managed to escape. They're arraigned on a number of different charges. Of course, whether they're actually guilty or not of any given charge remains to be seen. This happens all the time within the so-called justice system, by the way. And they left a message behind. Too easy, lol. That was the message they left behind. Now, they're speculating that it was impossible for the inmates to actually have drilled this hole from the inside. So, ironically, from the outside, there was probably an inside job. A number of people at the prison have been suspended as the result of this. Seems that a female guard sort of walked off and wasn't watching them properly when they managed to escape through this hole, and 7 are still at large. I think one of them is in on multiple murder charges. There's larceny, there's arson, there's carjacking, a laundry list of different presumptively generally credible allegations against them. But 7 of them are still out there, actually. So yes, you had a prison break. Now, just to be clear, normally, generally speaking, it's relatively difficult to escape from a prison. Hell, it's difficult to escape from the average county jail. It doesn't happen actually that often. This is an inexplicable event. It points to negligence and moon phases and things of that nature. Then, the Nottaway mansion burned down. It's the oldest antebellum mansion in the United States. Well, overnight it burst into flames, basically. They're still trying to investigate exactly how that happened. It's interesting. It seems like an awful lot of major disastrous stuff is happening in the New Orleans region lately. It's very, very strange. Louisiana is having some friggin' problems, it seems, at the time. Links in the description, archived, of course. The inmate story is a little bit more interesting, though, because it had to have, according to them, it had to have been somebody who had access to the prison in general. So we're talking a guard, a staffer, somebody who had to have meticulously drilled this hole behind the toilet in exactly the right location. And they had to have done it relatively quickly. I'm assuming if you investigate, you're going to find, powder from where it was drilled out or hacked out or whatever happened around that area. If it's on the outside, of course, you know that somebody who had access, some guard or something, must have done it. If there's no powder at all, then feasibly the inmates could have moved the toilet and begun drilling, and simply taken the powder out Shawshank style and dumped it in the prison yard or something like that. That would be one hell of a story. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up in bloodshed and ends up a movie or something like that. It'd be a very, very interesting case. I would assume that the inmates are no longer in the state of Louisiana at all. If there was an inside job, presumptively they've transported themselves as far away as possible. Because some of these are major charges. I mean, murder and shit like that. It's not like, hey, this dude who was guilty of jaywalking just broke out of jail. This dude had too many parking fines or something like that, so we arraigned him. These are hardened criminals, it seems. Some of them appear to have gang tattoos, actually. Not sure which ones have been taken back to prison. They did catch 3 of them, but at last update, 7 of them are still at large. Very, very interesting timing. Yeah, and also, you got a problem. The public was not told about this for an extended period of time. They were not made aware, hey, these 7 potentially dangerous individuals might be wandering the streets at the moment. They weren't told about this. And so the Orleans Parish commissioner is in some hot water at the moment for not updating the public sooner. Why don't you look up who it is and the picture of this individual, and you'll probably guess why there was potentially incompetence involved. I will attest personally, the New Orleans jail and prison system is not run competently. It is overcrowded, understaffed, with limited resources. Trust me, by limited, I mean very limited. So it's almost like they're being punished for their sins or something like that. It's almost like Lucifer has come to punish them. Uh, I will say no more. But real news here, I'm hoping that these individuals do not go on a crime spree or something like that. Hopefully, they just split up and went back to their families or reconnoitered. And now they're hiding out in the bungalow or something like that. Hiding in the bayou with the gators. Hey, there's some good eating down there in Cajun territory, just saying. Might want to get those tattoos removed, though, professionally, because I think that might be a problem. Apparently, once they got out, they changed clothes. Where did the clothes come from? May I ask that? This was definitely a centralized, planned operation. Whether it's from the inside or the outside, something happened. Something on the outside had to have happened anyway if they were able to change their clothes out of their jumpsuits and shit like that. Because they put jumpsuits on you when you're in jail or prison. Generally. I mean, come on. Something clearly fishy happened at this particular prison, and it had to have involved at least one individual on the outside. Maybe it was like the girlfriend or a prison associate of someone who just got out, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you get out too," or something like that. We're not sure. They're still investigating. I would think it'd be cut and dry for the most part, again, based on whether there's rubble and debris on the outside of the hole or not. You would know whether they drilled their way out or if somebody drilled their way in. They did manage to breach the prison. They managed to get out. And apparently the guard that was supposed to be there, making sure this sort of thing doesn't happen, was not there. That individual is definitely going to get fired and probably get prosecuted, just saying. That's about all. Peace out.